Welcome to the Freetown Village Conversation Series. My name is Stanley Dumernay. I have the privilege of serving as the Executive Director of Freetown Village. And for those of you who do not know, Freetown Village is what we like to call a living history museum. Our mission is to teach the public about African American history. And considering recent events, and I won't get into the details, and today's increasing climate of political extremism, uh, the programs of Freetown Village, in my opinion, are more relevant than ever before. We are about preserving and sharing African American history through storytelling, performance, and education. And in doing so, we want to provide spaces where difficult truths can be confronted with honesty and empathy. Our work fosters dialogue across divides, helping participants see history not as a source of separation, but as a foundation for mutual understanding and reconciliation. In a moment when division threatens to tear our nation apart, Freetown Village offers a vital reminder that learning from the past can equip us to build a more just and unified future. And so before continuing, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors for this program, especially the Black Heritage Preservation at Indiana Landmarks, led by Eunice Strutter. We are also grateful for the Indiana Humanities, the IU Indianapolis Africana Studies Department, the Joseph Taylor branch of ASALA, the Indie Arts Council, the Indiana Arts Commission, the Allen Whitehill Close Foundation, the Herbert Simon Family Foundation, and the Arthur Jordan Foundation. And they help support our work. And if you would like to do so also, please visit our website at www.freetownvillage.org. So tonight's presentation is entitled A Boilermaker Experience at Purdue University and is by Renee A. Thomas. So Thomas is the Associate Vice Provost for Students Access and Community Engagement at Purdue University, Indianapolis. Most recently, she served as Associate Vice Provost for Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging at Purdue University, West Lafayette, and was also a former director of the Purdue University Black Cultural Center. Thomas has 3 decades of experience in higher education administration with expertise in program development, student services, community engagement, and fundraising. Thomas has championed and advanced student success by utilizing data-driven and objective approaches. She has an established track record of building intra-university and external partnerships to advance student access and success. Thomas held leadership positions on numerous civic, cultural, professional, and volunteer organizations, including Tech Point Foundation for Youth, Hannah Community Center, and serves as a commissioner of the Indiana Arts Council. Recognized for her compassionate leadership style, Thomas has received professional accolades, including the 2024 Special Boilermaker Award, Indiana Civil Rights Commission Achievement and Education Award, YWCA Salute to Women Award, and others. So after the presentation tonight, we invite you to complete a brief survey. So for those of you who are here in person, there will be a QR code that will appear on the screen. And so we ask you to take a couple of minutes to scan the QR code and fill out the survey. It'll only take a couple of minutes. And this is useful to us because it helps us evaluate the impact and measure the value that we bring to you, and thus allows us to communicate that to our partners and funders. For those who are online, you will have a link that you can click on to take the survey. So before our speaker begins, we'd like to share a short video with you from our Black History Moment series, researched by Eunice Trotter and produced by Freetown Village. You can find the video you're going to view tonight and other videos on our YouTube channel. Immediately after the video, we will hear from our speaker. Thank you.
This is a little-known Black History Moment brought to you by Freetown Village.
Corydon Colored School was the only school for African Americans for decades in Corydon, Indiana. Built for elementary and high school students in 1891, the first student graduated in 1897. Many of the students were descendants of about 100 formerly enslaved African Americans brought to the Corydon area from North Carolina. One of the descendants was Leora Brown. After graduating from the colored school in 1923, Brown went to Indianapolis, where she studied education at Madam Blaker's Teachers College. Brown returned to Corydon to teach at the school. She taught from 1924 to 1950 when the school closed. Leora Brown's niece, Maxine Brown, purchased the abandoned property in 1987 and renovated it. The school was renamed the Leora Brown School and is used today for community functions. It is listed on the Indiana Register of Historic Places and is part of the Indiana African American Heritage Trail.
For more information about Freetown Village, visit us at freetownvillage.org. This is a little-known Black History.
Good evening, everyone. It is certainly a joy to be here, and I want to extend a special thank you to Freetown Village for inviting me to share with you this evening. Mr. Stanley, Ms. Ophelia, and Ms. Miriam, I really appreciate this opportunity. And it's also a joy to be in this physical space of the Indiana Landmarks under the leadership of Eunice Trotter. So let me just pause for a minute. I'm gonna say I feel a little bit intimidated because I see so many Purdue alumni in the audience, and I know that you guys have a great education, so I hope you're not too critical of my presentation this evening. But my goal this evening is to take you on a chronological journey, a journey about the Black Boilermaker experience. Purdue has a very rich history, and it is worthy of study. And please know that tonight you're just getting a glimpse of the Black Boilermaker experience. And I'm hopeful that you will be inspired by what you hear this evening, and we'll do some additional research on your own. Oh, went the wrong way. So Purdue University was founded in 1869 by John Purdue, who donated 100 acres of land, which was part of the Morrill Act, which was designed to broaden access to higher education. And as I begin my presentation, it's important to acknowledge the ancestral roots of the indigenous people in which the land that Purdue University sits on in West Lafayette, Indiana. Purdue now occupies the land that was once occupied by the Potawatomi and the Miami Indians, who were the original stewards of the land. My intention when I was putting together this presentation was to identify the first African-American graduate of Purdue University. However, I found that there's a little bit of controversy about who was the first Black graduate of Purdue. Was it George W. Lacey, or was it David Robert Lewis? One problem in identifying the first Black graduate of Purdue is that although the university began offering courses in 1874, the first records, including the images of students, did not appear until the Purdue Debris Yearbook was first published in 1889. George W. Lacey completed his degree in pharmacy, and he became the first African-American graduate of Purdue University in 1890. However, at the time, Purdue University's pharmacy was an academic organization. It was separate from the university, and as a result, Lacey's success is often overlooked. David Robert Lewis was born in Greensburg, Indiana, and he completed his bachelor's degree and is the first African-American graduate from a traditional four-year program at Purdue University. David Robert Lewis completed his degree in civil engineering engineering, and his senior thesis is entitled Highway Road Construction. He was one of only 9 Black students who graduated from Indiana colleges between the Civil War and the year 1900. These 2 young men completed their education at Purdue University just 1 generation after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. Purdue University's first Black athlete was Richard Burt Smith. He's graduated in 1904, and the Purdue Debris Yearbook stated, his classmates said, quote, he was the best baseball player in the class, and quote, the only one of his kind in the pharmacy class. We had many distinguished graduates at Purdue University. One of those was David Cartwright. He graduated in 1913 with his BS degree from Purdue University. David Cartwright was born in Nashville, Tennessee, and was considered an authority on heat transfer, ventilation, and air conditioning. He was a research engineer at a laboratory company in Iowa, and where he designed heating systems for the Radio City Music Hall in New York City. He received 39 patents for his various designs relative to heating and cooling systems. After he retired from his business ventures in 1969, he taught courses on the Purdue University campus. And for his academic achievements, Mr. Cartwright was named a fellow in the American Society of Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Engineers in 1971, making him the first African-American to receive this honor. He was awarded an honorary degree from Purdue University in 1975, and he died in West Lafayette in 1976. These are the Silence sisters, Delilah Silence and Elabella Silence. They were the first known African-American women to graduate from Purdue University. They both graduated in 1932. The Silence sisters were born in Lafayette, Indiana, and they graduated from Jefferson High School in 1925. Both of them earned bachelor's degrees from Purdue University with scholarship help from the Indiana Association of Colored Women's Clubs. Their parents, unfortunately, both died while they were in college, and Purdue policies at that time meant that the sisters could not live on campus, nor could they eat in the dining halls. So they lived with their grandmother and other relatives in the Lafayette community until they finished college in 1932. The sisters were considered the first African-American women to graduate from Purdue University. Their brothers, Lewis and Clyde, also graduated from Purdue. Delilah Silence, upon her graduation, she continued her graduate studies and earned a master's degree in education in 1933. The sisters were active in Church Women United, the NAACP, the local Mary L. Club, and members of the Bethel AME Church in Lafayette, Indiana. I'm going to skip this slide. I asterisked 1947 because I want to talk about the 2 sisters, Frida and Winifred Parker. They were both from Indianapolis, Indiana, and they enrolled at Purdue University in the fall of 1946. The sisters and their parents led the campaign that compelled Purdue University to integrate student housing. When the university ended its segregation housing policy in 1947, the Parker sisters were among the first Black women to move into the residence halls. Their story is one of persistence and path-breaking action. It really opened the doors for so many others, both women and people of color. When the Parker sisters first enrolled at Purdue, they were denied their application to live in university residence. The sisters were forced instead to live in boarding houses in Lafayette, Indiana. Housing was segregated in 1946, both on campus and in the West Lafayette community. So they had to live across the bridge in Lafayette, Indiana. Their daily commute to and from campus forced the sisters to miss out on many social and educational opportunities that residential students routinely enjoyed. It was an unreasonable outcome for the offspring of a family of educators. Their father, Mr. Fred Parker, was a prominent math teacher at Crispus Attucks High School here in Indianapolis. He recognized that a quality education is not solely derived from education in the classroom, but he wanted his daughters to also experience all that Purdue had to offer outside of the classroom. The Parker sisters had to take a bus or they had to walk, and that's when their father, Mr. Fred Parker, started a campaign, and he said, quote, "This is ridiculous. They can't take advantage of college and the activities. You have a two-tiered system here." And he began a letter writing campaign while also mobilizing the Black community. Among the recipients of Fred Parker's letter writing campaign was Indiana Governor Ralph Gates, whom Parker reminded that Purdue University at that time had a rule that all first-year students were required to live in the residence halls, yet his daughters did not have access to the halls. Frida Parker Jefferson shared her recollections of this pivotal correspondence with John Norberg, who wrote a book titled The Class of 1950. And she's quoted as saying, "He made it well known that Purdue University was a land-grant school supported by state taxes, and his taxes supported the school just like everyone else's. So why couldn't his children live on campus?" The fact that Blacks were not allowed to live in the dorms was a policy that had been set up by the housing office at Purdue University. It was not the law. The governor eventually agreed to take up the family cause, and in January 1947, Purdue admitted Fred Parker's daughters into Bunker Hill, and they were the first Black students to reside there. Also, in 1957, Mr. Lamar Lundy was a first person in Purdue athletic history to receive Most Valuable Player for two sports, both basketball and football. And there's, I'm going to back up because I skipped a little piece of this that's important about the Parker sisters. Let me go back to the Parker sisters. I'm sorry. In June of 2021, so I'm fast forward, I'm jumping around here a little bit, but in June of 2021, the Purdue University Board of Trustees formally celebrated the Parker sisters. They renamed two residence halls in their honor, the Frida Parker Hall and the Winifred Parker Hall. And those two halls are the first buildings on Purdue's campus to be named for a Black alumni. The buildings stand 6 stories tall, and they house 800 Purdue students. These two women were Boilermakers in every way, in every sense of the word. They were pioneers in their own way. The building serves as reminders of the courage and the tenacity that the sisters displayed at Purdue University and also in their professional lives as educators. The sisters promoted the advancement of underrepresented populations. And a Purdue graduate, Mr. Rod Reed, who some of you may know in this room, he owns the Indianapolis firm called RLR and Associates. He utilized the expertise of his team to research and design a creative wallscape that incorporated many of the historical artifacts into the installation so that our current students who live in the Parker Hall can learn more about the Parker sisters. So this is the installation, and many of the family members came back to a major celebration for the unveiling of the Parker residence halls. So I mentioned Lamar Lundy, and I want to talk a little bit about Dr. Dolores Shockley. Dr. Shockley was born in 1930, and she was the first Black woman to receive a PhD in pharmacology in the United States, and one of the first African-American students to receive a PhD from Purdue University. After she obtained her doctorate degree, she became a faculty member at the historically Black school, Meharry Medical College. She also became the first Black woman to chair the pharmacology department in the United States, and that was in 1988. Her research contributions included the study and effects of chemical pollutants on the brain and identifying pharmacological agents that interact with drugs that are often abused, such as cocaine. She was a distinguished scholar and also an emeritus professor at Meharry Medical College. Dr. Dolores C. Shockley Cooper, or Dolores Cooper Shockley, was born in 1930 in Mississippi, and she grew up in a segregated society in the rural town of Clarksdale, Mississippi. She was motivated by the lack of a drugstore in her community, and she decided to go to school for pharmacy with the expectation of opening a pharmacy there in Clarksdale that would serve the African American community. But she later decided that she wanted to pursue a research agenda. She attended Xavier University in Louisiana, where she completed her bachelor's degree, and then she decided to go on to pursue a graduate degree, and that's when she came to Purdue University. She arrived at Purdue University in 1951 and graduated in 1955, and she became one of the first Black students to receive a PhD from Purdue University. During her graduate education, Dr. Shockley expressed racism when trying to rent a room outside of campus. In an interview, she reported that while in West Lafayette, Indiana, she was also refused service by several people. And about this, Shockley said, and I quote, "This was extremely hurtful because you never knew when you would be rejected or refused. I went to my room and I cried several times, but my zealous commitment to succeed propelled me to work even harder to overcome my lack of prior experience." While Shockley was at Purdue University in the 1950s, Black students were not allowed to get haircuts in the Purdue Memorial Union. This prompted Shockley and other students to petition the president to reverse this policy. And in addition, Dr. Shockley became an activist in her community by joining a group of diverse students called the Panel of Americans. This group consisted of students from different racial and ethnic backgrounds who visited churches and they visited community centers to talk about how they too were American. Regarding her work in this student group, Shockley said, "I believe, or I hope, that we dispelled some of the fallacies of racial, ethnic, and religious inferiority." Dr. Shockley became the first Black woman to receive a PhD of pharmacology in the United States. And after she received her PhD, she earned a Fulbright Fellowship where she worked in Denmark until 1957. When she returned to the United States, she was offered a job at Meharry Medical College in Tennessee as an assistant professor. And when Shockley complained about her salary offer was lower than the male faculty members, the department chair at that time said to her, "A married woman did not deserve the same salary." And despite these challenges, Dr. Shockley continued to fight for salary equity. And in 1967, Dr. Shockley became an associate professor at Meharry, and in 1998, she became the chair of the pharmacology department, making her the first Black woman to chair a pharmacology department in the United States. She died in October of 2020 at the age of 90 in Nashville, Tennessee. Just to give you some perspective, in 1965, Purdue University had an undergraduate population of 20,000 students, 20,176 to be exact. Out of those 20,000 students, only 129 students were African Americans. Civil rights was alive and well during the 1960s and the 1968. Helen Bass Williams, she was a significant figure in the civil rights movement before coming to Purdue in 1968 as an instructor in French and a counselor in the School of Humanities. Helen Bass Williams was born and raised in rural Southern Illinois, and she earned 2 master's degrees, one in public health from North Central College, which is located in Durham, North Carolina, and the other master's degree was in French and education from Southern Illinois University. Williams worked throughout the South during the Martin Luther King era as a public health worker. She was an educator and a civil rights leader. She had been beaten, gassed, and jailed in Mississippi as she fought for freedom and civil rights. When Miss Williams was hired as Purdue's first Black faculty member in 1968, she brought to Purdue a living history of the Deep South during the Civil Rights era. And she also talked about the crisis facing America at the time. She served on a variety of committees that helped establish programs that reflected the university's commitment to change, including attempts to attract more minority students and faculty and staff to the university. She was also committed to developing diverse course content and creating a Black Studies program. Her home, which was located near campus, quickly became a welcoming space for Black students. Some students rented rooms from hers, others just gathered at meal times to enjoy a meal or conversation regarding concerns about the campus climate and their academic challenges that she faced. These informal, nurturing roles turned into an institutional one, and that Helen Bass Williams found what will become later the Black Cultural Center. She was very involved with the students' protest for the Black Cultural Center. And she also established the Learning Center at Purdue University. She served on the executive board of the Black Faculty and Staff Council in 1975. And after her retirement, Helen Bass Williams returned home to Southern Illinois and passed away in 1991. And in 1993, the Helen Bass Williams Scholarship Award was established to pay tribute to her life and her work. And in 2023, the Academic Success Center at Purdue University was renamed in her honor, the Helen Bass Williams Academic Success Center. Also during the 1960s, it was a turbulent time. Pam King was a cheerleader at Purdue University, one of the first Black cheerleaders at Purdue. And at one of the football games, she raised her hand during the national anthem and did the Black Panther salute at both a basketball and football game. And as a result of that expression, she was barred from entering the stadium and entering the basketball arena during the playing of the national anthem. As a form of protest, she made a decision to quit the cheerleading squad. 1968, again, the height of the civil rights movement, we saw some protest at Purdue University. One evening, a group of Black students were meeting and talking about what they wanted to do as a form of civil rights protest. And they asked the students, they met in the Purdue Memorial Union, and they asked the students to return the next day. And they told them on their way home to pick up a red brick. Red bricks at that time were everywhere on campus because Purdue is known as being a red brick campus. So each of them picked up a red brick and they were told to put it in a brown paper bag, meet at the Union Building the next day. About 150 students gathered at the Union Building, each of them armed with a red brick and a brown paper bag. They did a silent protest in which they marched single file from the University Administration Building, from the Student Union Building where they gathered over to the Administration Building. When they arrived at the Administration Building, one by one, each of those students walked up the steps of the Administration Building. They opened their brown paper bags and they laid a brick on the steps. They erected a sign, and the sign said, "The fire next time." It was actually a quote from James Baldwin's book. The university administration thought that it was going to be a violent protest because these were a group of 150 Black students were armed with bricks, but they decided to do a silent protest. And at the end of the protest, they presented the university president with a list of 9 different demands. I'm going to move on rather than going through all the demands, but Delta Sigma Theta was the first African-American sorority established at Purdue University. Dr. Cornell A. Bell was hired in 1969 as the director of the Business Opportunity Program. Dr. Bell distinguished himself in education with his personal involvement and dedication in helping to provide opportunities for hundreds of students throughout the Business Opportunity Program. He was the director of the program for 37 years until his retirement in 2006. He was known as a father figure and even a miracle worker to countless Purdue students. Even after his passing in 2009, his legacy still extends through alumni across the world. Dr. Cornell Bell was born in Evansville, Indiana. He attended Indiana University, where he received both his bachelor's and his master's degree, and he earned his doctorate degree from Purdue University in 1972. Prior to taking his position with the then Krannert School of Management, he was hired in 1969, but prior to that, he worked as a chemist for the Schaefer Chemical Company. He also taught science classes and served as a guidance counselor, an assistant principal, and the principal within the Gary Public School system. As director of the Business Opportunity Program, which he helped create, it was designed to give an opportunity for Purdue to have a more diverse student body. Dr. Bell helped recruit hundreds of graduate and undergraduate students to the West Lafayette campus. The Black Cultural Center was founded in 1970. It was the direct result of some of the student activism that happened in 1968. In 1973, Mr. Antonio Zamora was hired as the director of the Black Cultural Center. He served for 22 years as leader and mentor for many Black Boilermakers. He was a jazz musician, and he provided an opportunity for students to express themselves artistically through the development of a robust performing arts ensemble program and the cultural arts series. Ms. Miriam Blaylock, who is a Purdue alum, went on to become the director of the Minority Engineering Program. And in 1975, the dream of a national organization for Black engineering students was founded and realized at Purdue University. The National Society of Black Engineers has grown from its inception on the West Lafayette campus to become one of the largest student-run organizations in the country. Today, the mother chapter at Purdue University is carrying forth the organization's legacy with a variety of programs designed to build the next generation of Black engineers. There were 7 young men who became the founders of the National Society of Black Engineers. They were Anthony Harris, Ryan Harris, Stan Kirkley, Edward Coleman, George A. Smith, and John W. Logan, who are actually pictured in that center picture. Anthony Harris, who at the time, just prior to the founding of NSBE, he wrote letters to the presidents and to the deans of every accredited school of engineering programs in the United States. And at that time, there were 288 different schools that he wrote these letters to. He asked each of those schools to identify Black student leaders and organizations and faculty members who might support the formation of a Black Society of Engineers. And the first national meeting occurred at Purdue University, April 10th through the 12th in 1975. There were 48 students in attendance representing 32 different institutions. And the meeting was the birth of the National Society of Black Engineers. And growing from its roots at Purdue University, NSBE today boasts more than 24,000 active members and 600 chapters in the United States and abroad. I'm going to talk a little bit about Walter Blackburn. Walter Blackburn was a pioneering architect whose vision helped shape Indianapolis' modern skyline. Mr. Blackburn grew up in Indianapolis, and he attended Purdue University, where he studied engineering. He later transferred to Howard University School of Architecture and graduated from Howard in 1963. He returned to Indianapolis, he worked for other firms here in Indianapolis before he opened up his own firm. Blackburn Architects was opened in 1981, and his wife Alpha was his partner. Blackburn was a gifted architect, and he quickly gained national prominence for his innovative and community-centered projects. His designs included the Indianapolis Arts Garden, the Hoosier Dome, Grace Apostolic Church, and the Purdue Black Cultural Center. But his greatest commission came later in life when he designed the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center in Cincinnati, Ohio. Mr. Walter Blackburn was a visionary architect. You see the old Black Cultural Center was in a residential house, the top left-hand corner, and below is the new Black Cultural Center that opened in 1999. He was very intentional with his design of the Black Cultural Center. He incorporated red bricks because every building at Purdue University has red bricks, but he also incorporated a very distinguishable African design in the red bricks. So if you look up on the second floor area, you'll see a pattern, traditional African pattern there. Also, the portal, which is disconnected from the Black Cultural Center, is representative of in many traditional West African villages. There were portals that led into the community, and that portal is representative of leading into the Black community there at the Black Cultural Center. Whenever you enter the Black Cultural Center, you're greeted with the receptionist desk, and the picture over here is the receptionist desk. Has a really odd shape to it. It's actually inspired by the hull of a ship. And the hull of a ship has significance to the African-American experience because the Middle Passage, which was the journey from West Africa to the United States, many enslaved Africans traveled in the hull of a ship. And if you can imagine, the space that they were confined to was typically 3 foot wide by 3 foot tall, and they were laid flat, often shackled at the wrists and shackled at the ankles. Didn't have the technology back then that we have today, so sometimes that journey was 2, 3, 4 month long journey. You can imagine being confined to that 3 foot space. Sometimes they did what's called tight packing, and they packed the enslaved Africans, and then they had another level 3 foot above, so that there were 2 levels. The enslaved Africans ate in that space, they defecated in that space, and it was a horrific journey. Sometimes the enslaved Africans were able to go up on the deck and get washed down. And rather than continuing the journey, many of those enslaved Africans made a decision to jump overboard during the Middle Passage. So whenever we invite students to the Purdue Black Cultural Center, we have them gather around this front desk area, and we talk about the Middle Passage, and we let them know that if their African ancestors could survive the horrors of the Middle Passage, that Purdue University should be a piece of cake. They should be able to thrive there. Not always the case, but we want them to be inspired. The picture on the left is actually at the second floor. There's a balcony. It's a wrought iron balcony, and that balcony is to pay homage to those enslaved Africans that worked as blacksmiths. If you've ever traveled down to Charleston or Savannah area, there's a tremendous amount of wrought iron work in those communities, and most of that work was the product of enslaved African labor. Again, Walter Blackburn was just a genius when it comes to architectural design. He was very intentional. This is on the first floor. There's a lot of round spaces because in traditional African villages, again, roundness creates that sense of community. So that design was seen throughout the building. The Black Cultural Center Performing Arts Ensembles. I mentioned earlier when Mr. Tony Zamora was hired, he created 4 performing arts ensembles: the Black Voices of Inspiration, which is a choir, the Johari Dance Troupe, the New Directional Players Drama Company, and the Haraka Writers. Those 4 ensembles were founded in the 1970s, and then other ensembles came on board, including the Gordon Parks, which is a visual arts ensemble committed to photography, and the Black Thought Collective, which is a research-based ensemble. Students who are involved in the ensembles perform on campus as well as off campus, and they do educational research tours. This group of students actually went to Harlem, New York, and explored hip hop in Harlem and the 5 elements, and then they came back to campus based on all that research that they did in Harlem, New York, and then did a major staged production that you see here. I mentioned the Cultural Arts Series as well. It's a calendar of events in which we invite prominent guest speakers and performers to the university for public presentations to educate the entire campus community about the contributions of African Americans. This is just a glimpse of some of the guest speakers and performers that we had over the years. It reads like a who's who in Black America, including Jesse Jackson, Dick Gregory, Spike Lee, Muhammad Ali, Spelman Jazz Ensemble, Avenelli Dance Theater. And I can go on and on because it's just such a robust calendar of activities. And then we also have a really impressive African art collection that's housed at the Black Cultural Center. And I want to conclude my remarks by highlighting this particular painting. This painting is actually in the Black Cultural Center behind the student receptionist desk that I talked about earlier. And it was commissioned by Derek Forger, who is an African-American painter. And it really embodies the symbolism that tells the history of the Black Boilermaker. Oops, the Black Boilermaker. Oh, let me go back. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all, because I really want you to see the painting as I talk about it. Okay, so this is the Black Boilermaker painting. It was unveiled as part of the Black Cultural Center's 40th anniversary. We produced a documentary called Black Purdue. And at the end of the film, we unveiled this painting. Why does this keep going? I'm so sorry, y'all. I really want you to see the painting. I'm gonna set this down here so I can talk about it. Black Boilermaker, you notice rather than having tools in his belt, he has a brick. That brick is to symbolize the protest that happened in 1968, that silent protest. You'll notice that the brick, I don't know what's going on. It must be on a timer because I set it down. But the brick actually has a little piece of mortar on the brick. Oh, shoot, y'all. I'm so sorry, but I really want you to see this. Has a little piece of mortar on the brick. And that's to remind us that as an institution, this thing is just going crazy. So I'm gonna just stop. But there's a little piece of mortar on the brick. That's to remind us that as an institution, we still have work to do in terms of increasing our Black student enrollment, the number of Black faculty and staff at Purdue. So we still need to build up. Also, the Black Boilermaker, you notice he was reaching down. In the Black community, there's a slogan, lifting as we climb, lifting as we climb. And that's to inspire our alumni, many of who are in the room this evening, that once you get your Purdue degree and you're going out and doing some marvelous things, it's important for you to remember where you came from, reach back down into the community and give back to the community. You can't see it in the picture, but on his hammer is the year 1968, which was when the student protest happened. And then on the Boilermaker's hard hat is 1894, which is the year of our first to be debated graduate, David Robert Lewis. And then finally, I want to share with you all this painting. After we unveiled it, we auctioned it off. It sold for $10,000. The person who purchased the painting was a student who participated in that 1968 protest. His name is Maymon Powers. Maymon Powers went on to become a very successful businessman. He's the owner of Powers and Son Construction Company in Gary, Indiana. He not only participated in 1968 student protests, but he also went on to become a member of the Purdue University Board of Trustees. Rather than keeping the painting, he donated to the Black Cultural Center so we could have it on permanent display. And that $10,000 that we raised has gone into an endowment for student scholarships. So I want to say thank you all for going on this journey with me to learn a little bit more about the Black Boilermaker experience. I know that I didn't tell it all, and it just didn't have the time to tell it all, but I really just want to say thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it. And I didn't do this research on my own. I'd be neglectful if I didn't acknowledge some of the sources and individuals that also assisted in this process. So thank you all. Sure.
Take questions for Renee on the topic that she just discussed. And just raise your hand. I'll walk over and bring you the mic. I would just only ask that you speak into the mic because we also have an online audience so that they can hear your question. So if you have a question, please raise your hand and I'll walk over and bring the mic to you. Yes, sir.
Appreciate the program, and I think that this is another experience that the whole state of Indiana and really the country would benefit from. knowing um, the recent division between IU, PUI breakup, and I guess now Purdue will be having the southern border, so to speak, on Indiana Avenue here in Indianapolis. Could you speak to what you have gleaned so far from this transition?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Russell, for that question. Um, as we look at the breakup that happened between Purdue University and IU, the divorce, as we call it, there's about 150 acres of land, and Purdue got 28 acres. So, but we do align right on Indiana Avenue. Part of my responsibility here in Indianapolis is community engagement, and I have been acting as a sponge, absorbing so much of the history and the culture and the artistic experience, the entrepreneurial experience that happened along Indiana Avenue. And we know the story when IUPUI came in and really decimated the Black community. We want to learn from those mistakes, and we don't want to repeat those mistakes. We unveiled our master plan for the university about 3 months ago, and it's a very ambitious plan. But one of the things that we've been very intentional about is making sure that we pay honor to the history, the culture, and the traditions that exist along Indiana Avenue. We're just beginning to do some of that. You noticed along West Street, right across from the Walker Center, we purchased that building. We have some beautiful photographs that are in that building of Indiana Avenue from the 1930s, 20s, and 40s. And we have a class in the Honors College doing some research on those photographs, and we'll continue to tell the Indiana Avenue story in a variety of ways. So that's just one example.
I'm choosing my words. But you brought up two particular programs, the Business Opportunity Program and the MEP program, which have now formulated on the Boilermaker Opportunity Plus program.
Yes.
With all of the strides that were made to achieve this, how do you see BOP Plus being an expansion so that there isn't a, I guess, deterioration of those efforts?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question, Mr. Warren. And I don't have this particular answer for you. What I can say is that the institution recognized the legacy of both the Business Opportunity Program and the Minority Engineering Program. There were other programs as a result of the dismantling of DEI efforts that no longer exist at Purdue University. But Purdue recognized the legacy of those programs, the important impact that those programs had, not only on recruiting and retaining African American students, but also providing an opportunity for other students to have exposure and experiences with people of color. So I don't know the answer in terms of what is the future of those programs, but I do feel some level of assurance in that they too were not dismantled like other programs were.
Yeah, I have a question about those early students graduated in the 1800s and early 1900s. How did they pay for tuition? How were they supported? And you have any idea what the tuition was in these different eras?
That's some research that I need to do in terms of what was the tuition like in the early or the late 1800s. I can say that Delilah and Ella Bella Silence both received scholarships from the National Colored Women's Clubs to help support their education. I would imagine that the African American communities in various geographical locations came together to provide financial resources for students to attend Purdue. And I can only imagine it must have been a very lonely and a very perhaps intimidating environment. But as African Americans who came from these rich communities, they succeeded. They were the only one in their class, but yet they graduated and went on to do some marvelous things in the United States as well. But I'm gonna have me look that up in terms of tuition cost.
I'm gonna come around. I don't want to be in people that see. So they can. Okay, I have two things I want to do. One is to commend you. My name is Dr. Paula Livers Powell, and I am the founder of two Black Cultural Centers, UC Santa Cruz, 35 years, and San Jose State. And what I want to say, I've known Renee, she doesn't know, we didn't know each other, but I've known of her at Purdue. And what I want to say is thank you, because people don't often realize what it takes to be a founder, what it takes to be a director of Black Cultural Centers. And when she came along, just like when I came along, they were not Hallmark holidays. She probably didn't talk about that then. That the fact of they were all born, most of them on predominantly white campuses were born out of student activism. Students had to protest. Some students had to, were expelled. Some students were never to be seen again, did not graduate. And often people, I think what Renee represents, I don't know how long you were a director. You've been a director.
Almost 30 years.
Yeah, for a long time. And I knew of her, like with Nesby, because I founded a Nesby, but Jerry Perkins,
Yes.
Okay, he passed away because I went to Crispus Attucks, but I'm just saying, I'm just so glad to be here. I was making a beeline. There was traffic on 465 to say thank you, because I know what it's like, and working with the students and someone being there for them. And now to see it now in 2025, because Purdue is a great university and the beautiful center, because all schools don't build centers like that. But the question that I have is, what do you think about now with the attack with DEI, that for these centers, because again, born out of advocacy, like how will universities respond? Because the necessity of them being there, some people think they do, some people think they don't. But in this day and time, I'm just wondering, with schools that have centers like ours, like what would their future look like? And again, thank you so much. I just got to give her a hug.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I too want to thank you for your work that you've done in California as well, because it is important work. That's a difficult and challenging question. I think that as we move forward, we're going to need to continue to reinvent ourselves and create new language. Are two things that I say that we should do. I am convinced that these centers and spaces provide an opportunity that really enhance student recruitment as well as retention and graduation rates. And we need to be cognizant of that. The two words that keep coming to my mind are this reinvention and reimagining what those centers may be and may look like. But I do think that they are critical, they're vital, and they're needed.
Thank you. We have a question from our online audience. Someone would like to know if there are T-shirts or reprints of the painting, the Black Boilermaker.
Black Boilermaker, yes. We have several different things. The Purdue Black Alumni Organization, my plug for membership. There are posters of the Black Boilermaker. Okay. And once you register to become a member of the Purdue Black Alumni Organization, you get a poster. And also the Black Cultural Center has printed T-shirts that say BCC on the back of them, belong. Oh, I didn't create it. I don't remember. Belong, connect, and something. But anyway, the Boilermaker is on that, and you can contact the Purdue Black Cultural Center.
Excellent. I'm glad the person asked the question. Do we have any other questions? Yes.
I don't have a question, but I do want to commend you for, you didn't give yourself a lot of credit in that slide for the work that you did when you transitioned into head of BCC, because as an alumni, I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen after he leaves? And we were so glad that you came in. And one of the great things you did was start those exposure tours where you took kids out of the country and around the world. So you took my daughter to Cuba, and she came back, Ashland, the one with diabetes. That's how most people remember her. But she learned a lot, and her humility level on some different levels changed because of that trip.
That's great to hear. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's great to have others praise you.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to share a couple of things. One, when Renee talked about students not being able to live on campus, the other thing to keep in mind is that Indiana was like a lot of communities where they had sundown laws. So not only could you not live on campus, but you had to be out of West Lafayette by 6 p.m. or something like that. Then secondly, the adjustment that a lot of students, especially student athletes, had coming to Purdue from segregated communities in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, coming from the segregated South to West Lafayette. They were now dealing with different sets of standards and rules. So that was a major adjustment that a lot of the student athletes had to go through.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Renee. I'm going to say I enjoyed the presentation. Really, two questions I had. One was in
Introduce
reference.
yourself to the group as well.
Okay. I'm Ava Williams, a Purdue graduate alum, as my husband as well. We're both Purdue alums. The one question I had was in reference to, I know when you were telling Adrian that there were a couple organizations that had been dismantled. Was there, I hadn't heard that reference. Are there any other minority organizations like NASB or anything like that, or were affected with that have been dismantled as well? And the second question was, has there been any talk of the two sisters, the Silent Sisters, in terms of any way of honoring them, like they did the dorms for the Parker sisters?
Right. I am not aware of a grassroots effort relative to the Silent Sisters. The Black Cultural Center did do a scholarship for Helen Bass Williams in the Academic Success Center, as well as the Parker Halls, but I don't know of effort for the Silent Sisters. NSBE is a student organization. Student organizations have been protected in this dismantling. It's more on the administrative side. I, prior to coming to Indianapolis, was in the Office of Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging. That office no longer exists at Purdue University. There were several academic units in which the directors of those programs lost their positions as a result of some of the recent legislation.
Good evening. Thank you for your work. My question is related to the student population on campus at Purdue now. So 0.6% in 1965. How do you sit today?
Not much better. Not much better. The last 4 or 5 years, we were just huddling at about 3% African-American students. So there's still tremendous work to do, both on the West Lafayette campus, and even as we emerge here in Indianapolis with the new Purdue in Indianapolis, which is an extension of Purdue West Lafayette. It's not a regional campus, but an extension. But we need to be very intentional as it relates to that. And it's going to become even more challenging because of the omission of race on the application process and the decision-making process. So race is not unveiled in that process at all.
Hi, thank you very much. Okay, my name's Beverly Kahn, and I'm a Nana. So my granddaughters are 15 years old. One of them has always wanted to go to Purdue. And so I'm kind of looking to begin to understand, like, what is that experience like for, the student population, coming to Purdue. I don't know what it is. And we're looking to try to give an idea or to guide her so that, circumstances come up, but, we just don't know. So I'm looking here at all you guys who have been to Purdue to kind of get an idea what that feels like, what it looks like. Her mom and dad are involved. I think her mom may be online with us tonight, but that kind of experience, just what people can say what's happened to them, what they did, or what would they do. So thank you. I think when she was 11 or 12, she did go to a program called SO, and I think it was Student Engineering Workshop, or does anybody know what that is? I mean, okay. So she did that, and then she has not been back, and we're looking to try to kind of keep her connected. So what is the SO? SEW? I'm saying Student Engineering Workshop, so thank you.
Would you like to comment on that, Renee, or anyone else would like to
I
share?
guess I can comment a little bit to say that Purdue provides a world-class institution. You're not going to get a better education at any other institution than Purdue University. So I would encourage her to continue to look at Purdue University as a viable option for her. And I think that it's an individualized student experience, and that the student has to be assertive to seek out opportunities to create that sense of community, that sense of belonging. I can say I'm gonna be a promoter of the Black Cultural Center. I think that that's the heartbeat of the campus community for the African American experience. And students who connect with the Black Cultural Center, we know they tend to have higher graduation rates, and they have stronger sense of belonging because of their involvement and participation there.
That's great. And if I can share something, I'm not from Indianapolis, so this may sound odd, but there is a connection. I grew up in Haiti, and when I was 19, I went to New York City and I started studying engineering. I studied at the Polytechnic Institute of Technology. I studied mechanical engineering. It was very intimidating because I wasn't from here, from the US, different country, different culture. It was predominantly white, not a lot of African Americans in that school, but there was an association called the National Society of Black Engineers. And I always saw them gathered at a table and trying to recruit and trying to encourage other African American students there. And that really gave me encouragement. And I was very inspired by what you shared, Renee. I did not know that the National Society of Black Engineers started at Purdue University, and that today, if I heard you right, you said that they have 20,000 members and 160 chapters around the US. Well, they had a chapter at the Polytechnic Institute of Technology, and that was a source of encouragement for me. So maybe your granddaughter will join NSB and find the same type of encouragement if she goes to Purdue. Any other questions or comments?
I'm not a Purdue student at all, but I have known Renee for a number of years, and I'm glad that I attended this event. You are making history, and I hope that someone is documenting your legacy with Purdue.
Thank you.
Well, if we don't have any other questions, oh, we have one more.
Yeah, Renee, next year is the 250th anniversary of the founding of the USA, and there are going to be untold activities, I'm sure. Are you aware of anything that Purdue is doing in terms of that, and maybe in terms of what is being shown today, how members of the Black students that attended or intend to attend Purdue might participate?
Great. It's a great question. I am not aware of specific events and programs that are designed by Purdue University to celebrate the 250th anniversary. That doesn't mean that something's not in the planning because I don't know about it. But I do know that the city of Lafayette and West Lafayette have some major activities that are planned citywide as well.
and also, I guess I can make a pitch. I don't know if anybody here attended either Shortridge High School here or Christmas Addicts High School, but we're planning to have within the next year or next 2026, we're planning to honor the fact that Eugene White, who was a great educator, when he was superintendent of IPS, he brought back Shortridge and Addicts from a middle school status to high school status, and this is very important. These are both historic schools. I'm sure everybody here is aware. Shortridge was the first free public high school in this area in Indiana, and Abram Shortridge, as a matter of fact, who was the founder of Shortridge, Indianapolis High School at the time. They changed the name in honor of him, but he also was president of Purdue University for a couple of years. A lot of people don't know that, but he and John Purdue had disagreements, and so John Purdue won, obviously. But there's a great, rich history of education in Indiana in terms of that. So if anybody would like to participate with this effort to honor this bring back, so to speak, of Addicts and Shortridge's High School, let me know. I'll be glad to fill you in on what kinds of things we're trying to do. And then also, obviously, there are high schools, Purdue Polytechnic High School here with a couple of high schools now. Is that right?
Yes.
And how will that fit in? If some of those graduates of those schools wanted to go to Purdue, could they start here in Indianapolis? And how will that all be worked out if that's been looked at this point?
The Purdue Polytechnic High Schools are designed to be feeder schools for Purdue University. So we have pathway programs for PPHS students to enroll both here in Indianapolis and in the West Lafayette community.
We have a couple of questions from our online audience. The first one is, Renee, what legacy do you hope the next generation of Black alumni will carry forward?
Gosh, wow. One of the things that I hope that the next generation, in terms of legacy building, would be to hold individuals accountable for their actions, and then also to make significant contributions in whatever field they receive their degree in, to recognize that it's sad to say, but we're still talking about the first two XYZ, the first two XYZ, but you don't have to be the first, but you have to make an impact.
Right. Right. And the next question is, has there been a change in student participation / involvement with the BCC over the years?
Yes, in different ways. I know that when I first came to Purdue in 1990, the choir was like 120 members strong. And the choir today is much smaller than 120 members. And I think that the differential is that back in 1970s, 80s, there weren't many options for Black students other than the choir and some of those other activities that the Black Cultural Center did. So there's some level of, I wouldn't call it competition, but there are other opportunities for Black students to get involved where previously they didn't have those opportunities, and the BCC was a singular source for many students to be involved and participate. We do find that students engage differently on all college campuses in terms of participation. We know that our Purdue students are very academic focused as well, and the BCC has an artistic flair to it, and we also do some research. So it has ebbed and flowed over the years,
Right.
but even though the numbers have gone up and gone down, there's still consistency in terms of participation.
That's good to know. And then a couple of comments from our online audience. Someone said, if it had not been for SMM and NSBE and my sorority, I would have lost during my tenure at Purdue. And then someone else said, Purdue University in Indianapolis provides a community within a community for students NESB is having a call-out meeting in the Launchpad in Indianapolis. So, Renee, let's give Renee another round of applause for a great job tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for participating in our online audience. As we said at the beginning, if you wouldn't mind scanning the QR code to leave us your comments, quick survey. And a couple of announcements. We will have our next conversation series on Thursday, October the 16th, and you're all invited to come again. And we are also having our annual fundraiser, Making a Difference, a gala evening at the Madam Walker on Tuesday, November 18th. And you can go to our website, www.freetownvillage.org, for more information. So thank you again for coming, and a good evening to you all.